Welcome to Breezin with Bierman, the podcast. Again, if you like what you hear today, please check me out on, like I always forget, I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. My daughter Rachel's here. She doesn't always help me with social media. I'm with my daughter Rachel, who's a budding writer, author. She's going to help with the questions. I have some questions too. Today's guest, the lawyer and an author. He has a series of novels based on the Mike Stoneman New York Police Detective series, which grew out of a 2012 short story called The Righteous Assassin. we read this weekend. Rachel read it fast. Rachel reads like 102 books in 1 month. And then he's also written over 8 books. He has now a standalone novella called Ghost Creek. Please welcome Central Jersey native, originally from, I think, Port Angeles, Washington State, Kevin G. Chapman, Esquire, and aspiring writer. Well, you are a writer, right?
I hope I'm a writer by this point, Adam. Thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thanks for coming. First of all, I asked you earlier, though, you have your website and you've written a lot of books and they get published and everything, but do you hate Ken LaFollette, Patterson, John, and are you bitter? I mean, because I liked your stuff. I mean, I liked it, and chime in when you want to. It was readable. It was like a Patterson novel or whatever those other, big, massive storytellers are.
I try not to be jealous and bitter because I want to be them one day. So that's quite all right. I tell you, I get a lot of people who I know who read my books, and then they call me up on the phone and they say, "Hey, Kevin, I read your book. It was really good." Like they're surprised, right? Like it's a shock that it was that it was good.
I was a little surprised. I mean, I'm not saying. I mean, you seemed authentic, and I saw you at the Market Fair at Barnes and Noble. That's here in Lawrenceville, West Windsor, New Jersey. And but I read it and I didn't put it down. So yeah, it kept my attention because a lot of people could publish anything. I don't even know where the industry is going.
Well, there is certainly a lot of stuff out there that is less than first rate because it's incredibly easy for anyone who has words on a page to make it into a book and put it up on Amazon. So you have to just trust that you are getting information from people who are reputable. Read reviews, absolutely read reviews, but pay attention to reviews from sources that you can depend on, like professional magazines and things like Writer's Digest or Kirkus Reviews or places that aren't going to give you bad information. But it's I've read a lot of questionable, maybe that's not the right word, marginal writing from people. Even things that aren't great can be interesting. They can be fun. They can give you perspectives on things. You try not to be super critical of somebody who took the time to write something and get it published.
I mean, they're expressing their creativity. God bless them, and it makes them feel good. It's food for the soul. My first question, and again, to jump in, I know you don't be shy, is give a synopsis of Mike Stoneman, who he is, and how did you create this? I mean, where did this come from in your headspace?
Well, Mike Stoneman was first created as part of a short story that I wrote for a writing contest sponsored by the New Jersey Corporate Counsel Association. And it had to be about crime or law. And I'm a lawyer, and I really didn't want to write about law. I decided to write about crime. So I created this fictional detective and put him in a short story that was called Fool Me Twice, which is now free and available on Amazon and just about every other online retailer and on my website. And it was a fun story that I wrote while I was in the midst of writing a very serious novel. And when I finally got finished with what I was writing, the great American novel that nobody ever bought because it's serious and not a lot of fun sometimes, I decided I really wanted to get back to something more interesting and fun and that people would really like to buy. And so I went back to Mike because I enjoyed the character, and I spun that up into a full-blown novel, and that was Righteous Assassin. That was the first novel in what became the Mike Stoneman Thriller series. Very out of focus there, Adam.
Yeah, we're a little low rent here too. And don't forget, you can check out Kevin at kevingchapman.com. His website. We'll say that about 3 more times. But are you, Mike? I mean, I read the book. You read the book. I mean, it's like reading Criminal Minds or something. It is, detective work, forensic pathology.
Yeah, that's actually one of my questions was, um, when I write, I actually see the story as a movie, and when I was reading your story, it reminded me a lot of Criminal Minds.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing you weren't exactly inspired by Criminal Minds, but how did the story play out? Did the plot come first? Do you just see it as scenes? Whatever.
Well, the plot obviously comes first for me. I tend to outline the heck out of my stories. So I have every important development that's going to happen during the book done and on an outline page before I really start writing any text. But you're absolutely right about it seeming like a movie where every chapter or every portion of a chapter is a scene. That's just the way I think. And it really goes back to me to The Maltese Falcon, which is one of my favorite books. And it was a movie, which if you've ever read The Maltese Falcon and then see the movie The Maltese Falcon,
I've seen
they
the
are
movie, of
almost
course, like
identical.
10 times, but never read it. I'm sorry.
The book is so much like the movie, it really reads like a screenplay. And it's that's the way I think of books, is every chapter is a scene. And you want to, I visualize it as if it's somebody who's looking at it and watching the book as they're reading the book. And that's just one way to write. I know a lot of writers who get very much inside the heads of their characters, and you get a lot of narration of what the character is thinking and what the character is feeling, which is great, but it's not the way I write. I really write like you are viewing what's happening, and I try to not do a lot that's inside the heads of the characters as much as you, the reader, seeing what the characters do
Yeah, that's
and
what I
hear
got.
what they say.
Yeah. But my question is, you've written a lot of on the Mike Stoneman series. How do you balance the development of the recurring characters, introducing new ones? It seems really intricate. Seems like it could be very almost exasperated to try to make that all work together.
Well, I have a little help. My wife Sharon is a tremendous part of my writing team, and she is mostly responsible for what we call the B plots. So she's responsible for the development of the recurring characters and their
Oh, okay.
relationships and how they interact with each other. And I'm responsible for the murders and the crime and the
So you
investigation.
don't go nuts trying to do this. Okay, go on. Sorry. So, all right.
But the first 5 books of the Mike Stoneman series is a plot arc that starts with Righteous Assassin, where Mike and the county medical examiner Michelle McNeil are just starting a very sort of nascent romance. They're both in their late 40s or early 50s. Well, no, Mike's not quite 50 yet, so he's in his late 40s. Michelle is in her mid 40s, and they're just starting this little romance. And then over the course of all the books, you see that develop until you get to book 5, Perilous Gambit. And then he's got a partner, Jason Dixon, and he starts a little romance in book 2, and that carries on to book 3. And so those 2 things are going on through the plots of all 5 books, as well as a few other little subplots and some recurring characters that come back, and I have a lot of fun with them. But Sharon keeps all of that straight for me, and that's a big help.
It helps to have a team.
Yeah, speaking of Jason, I noticed somewhat in the beginning he seemed a little more of the protagonist because he was more, the audience advocate. He was the newbie, learning the ropes with Mike before he started getting more into how Mike felt this case personally to him. So, how did that balance out?
Well, I always thought of Mike and Jason as kind of alter egos. Is they each have a completely different personality and a completely different background, and so they complement each other. What one guy gets, the other guy maybe doesn't. But between the 2 of them, they balance out and they figure things out. There's also a lot of tension between them in the beginning, especially in the beginning of Righteous Assassin, and really all the way through the first book. Is Mike is the veteran cop, and Jason is not a rookie, but much, much less experienced. And there is a tremendous amount of tension, some of which is not overtly racial tension, but Mike is white and Jason is black. And it's definitely there during the course of their relationship, and how they grow together and how they really become partners. And then in the subsequent books, how that partnership develops, and they have to deal with a whole lot of things that come up and that sort of test their friendship and their partnership. Those are the things that really make my readers care about the characters. It's not about that book's murder or that book's investigation, although it's always partly about that. What brings you back again is what's going to happen to Mike and Jason? What's going to happen to Mike and Michelle? You know, how are these relationships going to continue? If you can do that as an author and you can make your readers care about these fictional characters that you've created, that's when you've hit pay dirt. Then I hope that I've done that at least for some of my readers through the first 5 books.
But when you get responses from your readers, does that shape your writing, or you shape the writing and then you hope that they're going to like it? I mean, how does that work? How do you want to resonate with them?
I get a lot of input from my readers. I have a newsletter list with about 3,000 people on it, and I ask them sometimes for suggestions, and I get feedback from readers in the developmental stages. So when I'm writing a draft, I send it out to a group of about a dozen people who are beta readers for me, and they give me really interesting feedback about what's working, what's not working, what they like, what they don't like. And that all helps me shape the finished book a lot. So you get some of that. You can't really let your readers dictate everything. Sometimes you're going to have to do things that your readers aren't going to love. But overall, it's coming from me and Sharon more than it is from the readers, but there's always a little bit of input.
My question, I mean, are you a psycho at heart? Is there a deep, dark side to you? Like, or is this just like what they say, the creative zeitgeist? People, that's what the great thing about being creative. You can be another person. Doesn't mean you're going to actually live like them. I mean, are you into gore? Are you into forensics? Are you into death?
Well, there's something about thinking of how to kill somebody and how to get away with it. That's a fascinating thing to think about. I don't know how much of that is really me. I mean, I don't mind the occasional horror film. I like suspense. I like science fiction. So some of that's coming from various parts of my personality. But when you have a homicide detective, you're going to have homicides, and you're going to have to make the stories interesting enough for people to want to follow along and try to solve the mystery along with the detectives. And coming up with that, the puzzle part of it is really what I like. Not so much the details of the kill as putting the puzzle together and how do you solve the mystery.
That's creative for anybody. It's good for anyone. It's good for your brain. You know, you start thinking about what's going to happen, how they're going to do it, and everything. You think like a lawyer, like you're a lawyer. I mean, what kind of lawyer are you though? You're a corporate, or what are you?
I'm actually a labor lawyer, so I deal with labor unions and negotiations and employment related issues for a corporation. So it's interesting. It's never dull because you're dealing with people, and people do crazy things.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of fiction in the truth and a lot of truth in the fiction.
I agree with that. Does it affect your work though? Does your corporation any negative effect for you by doing this? Does it the corporation doesn't like you lose clients because of it, or someone's read your book and said I don't want him as a lawyer or anything?
No, I haven't had that happen yet. My company tolerates me having a side gig and doing this as out off the clock, which is fine. Everybody's got things that they do in their spare time. This just happens to be one of the things that I do in my spare time. But no, I haven't had anybody come to me and say, "Hey, I read that book and I'm really offended by it, and you really should get another job." No, not yet.
Yeah, I'll tell them to F off anyway, because everyone's be offended about anything. How do you think? Okay, this is from a Princetonian. I asked on the street. How this goes back to the angst. How do you want to break out? How can you break out from this crowded field via marketing, keep writing, publicity, doing this amazing show? Well, hopefully you're going to share it with a lot of people too, I hope, the show.
I love sending out links to podcasts and letting my readers know, hey, you can come listen to me on this radio show or this video or whatever it is. Sure, those are fun things to do. But how do you set yourself apart from the millions of books and the millions of writers who are out there? The answer is it's very hard, and it's a very slow go. I was tremendously frustrated after the publication of book one and even book two in the Mike Stoneman series that you can't get people to buy them. You can give them away. You can discount them, but it's very, very hard to get large scale audiences of people to purchase because you're new. You're a name they don't recognize. Right. You don't have a built-in million followers on your Instagram. So you just get it one reader at a time,
you have to promote yourself.
One newsletter subscriber at a time.
And you have to promote yourself, basically. And you try to learn like new SEO strategies and all that. I mean, to get that Google page up.
Marketing is the hardest part of being an author. Writing books is fun for me. I mean, if you're a writer, I think any writer, writing books is fun. Marketing your books and trying to get them sold and doing advertising and doing research and working on the keywords that you have to put into your books.
It could be another job.
It really is. It's to be a full-time job just to be the marketer of your books. I did break down at one point about 2 years ago and hired a professional marketing company to run advertising for me. So all of the ads that run on Facebook and on Amazon and on BookBub are handled by a marketing company that knows what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And that takes me out of that. It means I don't have to spend 20 hours a week worrying about my advertising strategy. And that was a great decision on my part because it just freed me up to spend more time writing. It also got me a lot more readers in the sense that the advertising does work. People do see them. People do purchase books. People who are Kindle Unlimited subscribers can get all my books for free as part of the Kindle Unlimited subscription. And that generated a lot of page reads and a lot of reviews. Righteous Assassin is up to 750 reviews on Amazon, which is a very good number. Very happy with
comments
that.
too, and comments are important
and
too.
Good, yeah. I mean, the ratings are good, the comments are good. But as you said, when Michael Connelly publishes a book, in the first week, he's got 5,000 reviews on Amazon. Yeah. And that's the difference. When you're a big name, you got a lot of people who will buy your book before it's even published. They'll pre-order it. They'll get it on the first week. They'll read it. They'll post a review, and all of that feeds upon itself. And that's great. Good for him. I mean, I never begrudge another author being successful. But having the marketing company doing the advertising generated a lot of people looking at the books, reading the books, posting reviews of the books. So the money that I paid the marketing company to run the ads just about was totally eaten up by whatever revenue I got from the sales of those books. But at this point in my writing career, that's okay with me. If I'm breaking even, that's good, because the more books you have, the more reach you get, the more people will be interested. And hopefully when the next book comes out, you'll have more people who know you and who are looking forward to your next book, and they'll go out and get it.
It's a steady slog, and you can still do what you like. And at the same time, it's worth spending that money. And the Netflix deal might be around. You just never know. But it's very frustrating, though. I mean,
that's the holy grail, right? To get somebody interested in turning your books into a movie or a mini series. And I tell you, Righteous Assassin would make a great season of a mini series.
That's what's. I mean, it's like people like you. It's just hard. You need talent and a little luck and a lot of perseverance.
Maybe if you actually turned it into a screenplay, they would look at it.
Oh, have you written a screenplay yet?
I actually have written a screenplay. I have not. I have turned the first 4 chapters of Righteous Assassin into a screenplay, specifically to send out to market that as a potential screenplay. But what I really need is an agent, because Hollywood does not really deal with authors. They deal with agents. So I need an agent to take me on and say, I'm going to push your stuff to not just to publishers, but to Hollywood or is everything done in Hollywood anymore? All the streaming services, maybe Seattle where Amazon is. But that's something I need, I want, I would love to have. Haven't quite been able to land that one yet.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, go on.
Well, it's not related to Hollywood. It's back to the book. You had a bunch of discussion questions at the end, and one of them, I actually talked about this with my friend. So many serial killers are Christian, and not you don't think of a Jewish serial killer
I
or a
thought about that.
Muslim one. It's always the Christians who have to, literally righteous killings for God or something.
Mhm.
So, did you have to research that, or did that actually make you think?
I will say that the development of the killer
Mhm.
in Righteous Assassin was something that I spent a lot of time on as I
Mhm.
went through, and the whole, I'm not going to spoil the big reveal of to not the big reveal, but one of the key plot points is, why is this killer eliminating people in very weird, bizarre, what seems like crazy ways. And there's a pattern to it. And it was that pattern that was the original germ of the idea for Righteous Assassin. Is what if you had a serial killer who was doing this in this very specific way? How would that work? And how could you write that? And how would you solve that mystery? So it was really that pattern that created the personality of the killer, and I think that was really dictated by the underlying subject matter. I did get a couple of people who were very unhappy with the book, and they said I was anti-Christian because the
Mhm.
serial killer was sort of a religious fanatic.
There's so
Um,
many are
I think
in
that
real life.
that there's some truth
I'm
to
not
that. You
touching
have to
that
be
one
a
right now.
fanatic about something to be a serial killer. I think if you did it the other way, if the serial killer had been Muslim, it would have been trite. It would have been, okay, now you've created this sort of boogeyman Muslim who's coming in and killing people, and that would not have worked. I never thought about making him Jewish. That's an interesting concept that
Maybe like a
never really
rabbi
crossed my
serial
mind.
killer. The gentle, Rabbi Goldberg, kind of like Hasidic scholar day, serial
Mhm.
killer at night, but who knows? Going back to what you said about Hollywood, we jump around. Not that I'm an expert in the biz, but I talked to a friend of ours named Robbie, who's kind of in it, and some other people, and they said one problem maybe you'd probably run into. No one wants to take chances. They want to just bank. They just want to bank on what they know because it's a financial statement first, the creativity second. And so,
You need to have a name that will sell. So you need somebody involved in the project who has the ability to say to a producer, if you spend $10 million or $20 million producing this thing, because that's what it costs, it will be good and people will watch it and you will get a return on your investment.
right.
Now, for me, I'm not a name as a writer that anybody is going to put that kind of money behind. So what I need is an actor or a director who to read the book and say, ooh, this would be really good.
Right,
And
right.
for them to then get behind the project and say, oh, I could turn this into something really terrific. And, so I need that kind of a person to push it. I can't push it. Nobody's going to
Right.
listen to me. I got no pull in Hollywood or anyplace else.
It's kind of like when you start off when you're in your early 20s. How chicken and egg. How do you get it? You have to have experience. How do you get experience? You need a job, but I can't get a job. I mean, it's like a chicken. It goes round and round. Yeah, I think if you could get Brad Pitt or something, with somebody with deep pockets who could take a risk, throw some money around, and sees a project he likes. But I think then secondly, you have to make sure no one steals it from you.
Well, it's all copyrighted. I'm not worried about that. The name, however, is John C. Reilly. We have decided that John C. Reilly is the perfect Mike Stoneman.
Oh,
He would be
really?
terrific as Mike Stoneman. And
I
so we
remember
need,
him in Boogie Nights when he was thin, and now
well,
he's
yeah, that was a
got
long time ago.
yeah, exactly. Now he's kind of puffy. Yeah, but I could see him doing that. A little more grizzled, puffy.
I
Where,
saw Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson,
Yeah.
really? I'm not. I could see John C. Right, just an
Liam Neeson is
everyday
too
man.
tall and handsome.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't see him
But
as Mike
that's
Stoneman.
Hollywood. They always go for the handsome.
Sometimes, yeah, but John C. Riley would be. He could do the accent.
Hmm.
I imagine like a Queen's accent for some reason, a Bronx kind of.
A little bit, yeah. Mike's got I mean, I recorded the audiobooks myself, so I have my own version of Mike Stoneman's voice and all the characters. That's been a fun part of my journey is also doing the audiobooks.
Can you give us a
Uh,
little accent? Can you improv it?
well, I can tell you, Mike Stoneman sounds like this when
There you
when
go.
I narrate him. Mike Stoneman's got this gravelly kind of voice,
Mhm.
and yeah, he's got a little Queens in him. He's from Queens. He worked
Yeah.
for the Long Island Railroad. He's got a little New York edge to him.
Yeah,
So
but he's
that's a little
smart,
bit of
but
my.
no nonsense. You know, I like those kind of guys. Smarter than you think, no nonsense, working class accent, works the case, plays to win, yeah, and stuff. You know, like an everyman elevated hero. That's what I look at him as, in my opinion.
I think that's right. He's not a superhero.
Right.
He's a cop. And one of the things, if you go on to after Righteous Assassin, the second book in the series, Deadly Enterprise, picks up Mike when he's in rehab,
Mhm.
because at the very end of Righteous Assassin, there's a confrontation with the killer, and Mike suffers an injury. He gets stabbed, he gets shot, and he survives, but he's got a serious injury. So he spends the next 22 weeks in rehab after recovering from shoulder surgery. And that's where you pick him up at the beginning of the next book, is in rehab, when he's on the table with his physical therapist. And you never see that in most sort of thrillers, right? I mean, you talk about
So
John
vulnerable.
Wick, right?
Very,
Or
very
Jack
vulnerable
Reacher.
guy.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Reacher gets shot 5 times, falls 100 feet down a cliff, gets run over by a car, and then gets up and chases down the killer like he's perfectly fine.
And he kills people with pencils and playing cards.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
amazing.
those are superheroes, right? Which is fine. You write a superhero, and they recover instantly from all of their injuries. Well, Mike Stoneman's not like that. So in book 2 of the series, he's not even an active cop. He's on disability leave. He's rehabbing after surgery, and Mike, or rather Jason Dixon, his partner, has to get a new partner temporarily. And so that relationship becomes part of the second book, and then Mike has his own re-entry into the whole story. But I really wanted Mike to be a real person and not just a caricature or a superhero.
I think it gives more storyline too when someone's injured like that. Yeah, he's a vulnerable, tough guy who's in a mercenary world. How he comes back. We have about 10 minutes left. We're talking to Kevin G. Chapman, author of the Mike Stoneman series, among other books. You can check him out at kevingchapman.com. I wanted to talk about, you did a standalone novel. What's that all about? So you're going off in another direction? What is this Walnut Creek thing, whatever it's called?
Well, first of all, after I finished the first 5 books of the Mike Stoneman series, I wanted very much to take a shot at getting that literary agent to take my books and try to get them in front of a publisher. And I was told along the way that no publisher was interested in me because they didn't want to pick up a series that had already been independently published. With the first 2 books of the series were independently published, they don't want to pick up. They want it from scratch. So I said, fine. So I'm going to write a book that's a complete standalone book. It's not part of the Mike Stoneman series at all. And I wrote a standalone called Dead Winter. And I loved Dead Winter. Dead Winter is a terrific, interesting, intricate, hard to figure out story. And I had so much fun with that. And then I wrote recently another one called The Other Murder, which is a very different take on things. It features 2 journalists who are the main characters, who are reporting on a story, well, 2 stories, 2 murders. And that was a lot of fun for me to kind of step outside the Mike Stoneman universe and write something that was very standalone. My other motivation there was I didn't want to write about COVID. I didn't want to write stories where Mike and Jason were interviewing witnesses behind glass partitions wearing masks because of the pandemic. And I just wanted to get away from the pandemic. So I did those 2 books as standalone books. And now the book I'm now working on is book 6 in the Mike Stoneman series. So I'm going to get back to Mike Stoneman. But each of those other books, Dead Winter and The Other Murder, I had a lot of fun coming up with completely new characters and completely new subplots and plots that were outside of the Mike Stoneman universe.
Well, we got about, you have any more questions?
I've noticed, not in your books, but generally there seems to be a sort of estrangement between cops and journalists. Like journalists are always interfering, and journalists want the story, and cops are being too secretive. And then lawyers are a whole different thing. So, did you have fun doing the journalist side?
Yes, yes. I mean, there's a line in The Other Murder where Mike turns to a cop and says, "Just remember that no cop ever solved a murder by talking to a reporter."
Mhm.
There is definitely tension between the press and the police, because unless the police are intentionally leaking information because they want it to be out there in the public, the way they would rather solve the case in a vacuum. They really don't want the publicity that goes along with what's going on, and it's distracting, and reporters get in the way and they ask questions. So yeah, there's a real competition and push and pull between the press and the cops. So yeah, it was fun. Plus, I work for a media company, so being able to write about reporters was interesting for me. And there are cops in The Other Murder, but they're doing their own thing, and the reporters are doing their thing, and you as the reader are watching, and you're privy to everything that's going on, just like you're reading it all in the newspaper, and you have to try to figure out what really happened and what you can believe. And these days, trying to figure out what you can believe when you read it in the press or see it on television is a challenge. And that was what this book was about. So it was a lot of fun.
Well, we're running out of time, so we only have one more question from the crowd. This is from another Princetonian. In Misery, when James Caan, the character, finished his novel, he'd get a cigarette, and so what do you do when you actually, I guess you and your wife, when you actually finish the novel, you've gone through it, all the rewrites and everything. Do you have some kind of celebration?
Well, there's actually 3 or 4 different points where you celebrate. You celebrate when you write the end for the first time at the end of the first draft, when you've gotten all the way done, and then you celebrate when you get the cover of the book for the first time and you see that, and then when the actual date that the book gets published is so far removed from being finished with the writing process that that's not much of a celebration. But what I do is I break open a good bottle of scotch, and I have I have a Macallan 18 or a Glendronach 21, and have a really good scotch. That's my celebration.
And the other question is, because I said you're from Washington State, so do you know Bill Gates? He could help you. He could help you.
If I knew Bill Gates, yes, that would be a good thing.
Well, Mike Chapman, unless my daughter has anything else to say, I hope we've done you justice. And you look like an actor yourself. You look like, I forget the name. You look like an actor, and you said we loved it when we saw you at the market fair. You're friendly, you have a sense of humor, and you're humble, but at the same time you have that intensity and creative zeitgeist. And and hopefully you'll make it on Netflix. And if you do, don't forget us. At least invite us to
Would
like
love
a premiere.
Yeah. Well, yeah, people can get on my mailing list, and they can get information about me and all my books. So if you go to my website, you can sign up for my mailing list.
At go to MikeGChapman.com.
Kevin G. Chapman.
Oh, I keep on saying Mike.
Yes, that's
Mike is Mike Stoneman. I know. I get
Okay.
confused all the time.
And there's Mark David Chapman, John Lennon's, but we won't discuss
Oh,
that.
please. Yeah, don't go there.
It's
Yeah,
a bad one. Okay, well, thank you very much. And this has been another entertaining, articulate Breezing with Bierman. Thank you, Rachel Bierman. Thank you, Adam Bierman. And thank you. I'm going to Kevin Chapman. Kevin G.
Thank you,
Chapman.
Rachel and Adam. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to get out to your audience.
Mhm.